Will this so-called Gooner game for girls mark a shift in the male-dominated gaming industry? And what does the reaction by men to this game tell us about the current gaming culture? I did not put in hundreds of hours of reading through a complicated story and fighting demons for this game to be reduced down to Gooner status. In this video, we will define what a Gooner game is and isn't, go over the controversial feature added to the game that started this Gooner nonsense in the first place, learn what makes it so special to its female player base, and how it could signal a change in the gaming industry. Why is there so much discomfort around women's pleasure? Why is it that oftentimes when women gather, when they love something deeply, that it's ridiculed, belittled, but most importantly, feared? There is power in gathering, there's power in women's dollars, and there's power in women recognizing the power that they have. And there's a lot of people who are uncomfortable with women in power. Boy bands, Twilight, romance novels, and now Love and Deepspace. Love and Deepspace is a robust mobile game, and it fits into a genre known as otome games, a Japanese term for visual novel, heavily story-based games centered around a female protagonist and usually with a heavy emphasis on romance, with a variety of romanceable male leads. This genre of games is nothing new. We've had them since 1994 with the release of Angelique. Fast forward around 30 years into the future, and we have the 3D immersive, groundbreaking game Love and Deepspace. Created by Infold Games, an overseas branch of Paper Games, a Chinese game development company, the story takes place in a near-future society after an event called the Chrono Rift Catastrophe leads to terrible monsters called Wanderers entering Earth through the Deep Space Tunnel. Our main character uses her powers to fight these monsters while also uncovering mysteries about herself and her male companions that she fights alongside. So where does the controversy come in? Well, through the addition of a period tracker. Now this might seem like a strange addition to someone not playing the game, and even for seasoned players like myself, I still was a little bit surprised by this addition. As a mobile game, Love and Deepspace can send reminders to the user's phone, and this game is squarely focused on the female market. Along with the announcement of the period tracker came some other features too, like a reminder for daily tasks. And there are several side stories within the game that include scenes where the main character is being taken care of by one of the male love interests while she's on her period. The initial reception by players was again a bit of confusion and shock, but also people were curious. There were concerns by the US fan base, including myself, about how our data might be used when tracking our periods. Living in a post-Roe v. Wade world sure is interesting. But then, suddenly, there was a stirring from people outside of the target demographic for this game. Male gamers were upset, not because they were concerned about how women's data might be used, but instead they saw the period tracker as sexual, attributing it to something called Gooner behavior. Now we're going to try and define Gooner since we see some people try to put their own spin on its definition. This internet slang word has multiple definitions under the Urban Dictionary, but the commonality here is that a Gooner is someone who uses, let's say, various materials, including video games, as a way to pleasure themselves. And a Gooner game would be a game that prioritizes pleasing the player through sexual means. How did people outside of the fandom, outside of the target audience, even find out about this period tracker? On January 31st, 2025, Niche Gamer tweeted out, "Chinese mobile otome game, Love and Deepspace, adds a built-in period tracker. Your love interest will react to your period. Details below." Niche Gamer has around 165,000 followers and tweets about all sorts of games, so people who are outside of the fandom were able to see this and were shocked. And this led to one user named Dino to say, "Men, we have been outgooned." This tweet got over 2 million views. Love and Deepspace fans were shocked to see gooning associated with their game because of a period tracker. And another tweet would blow up by another user named Tectone. He would say, "A message to every woman. A Gooner game isn't just an over-sexualized game. It's also games that attempt to farm parasocials to feel like the video game characters cares and understands you more than those in real life. So yes, lads, adding a period tracker feature is for Gooners. Shut the up with y'all trying to act like y'all different." Over 4.9 million views. So we've got someone changing the definition of Gooner so that they can tear down women? That's very interesting. Never mind that most games, especially story-driven games, try to establish a strong emotional connection between player and character. I wonder if my Tamagotchi would be considered a Gooner game since I'm supposed to feel like I'm taking care of a living creature. Protective characters, love interests are nothing new to gaming. Piggybacking off of this hatred towards something made for women would unfortunately be another woman, Captain Cabinets. I'd go so far to say it doesn't just feed Gooners, but straight up degenerate behaviors. They want you not to exist functionally in a society. And after many female players decided to have some words with Captain Cabinets, she continued, and this goes on for a while, but I'll just talk about one more tweet. "Women obsessed with their virtual gacha husbands are far more delusional than men obsessed with their waifus. I'm not sorry. Your husbando is not real. What? Silas is the perfect man? Yeah, getting kidnapped for a first date is the best way to meet your future husband." It's sad to see women trying to uplift men and suppress women in order to maybe get the approval of a man. Somehow when men do it, it's okay. But when women do it, I don't know, they're just worse. There's something there that makes people uncomfortable, I guess. I wonder what it is. It wasn't until after I saw men vocalizing their disapproval of Love and Deepspace that I started seeing women turn their backs on it. We know that internalized misogyny is the culprit here. If you've ever been on Book Talk, then you've probably seen a similar transformation. Men showing disapproval of some fiction, usually sexual fiction that women are enjoying, and then women jumping on the bandwagon and showing their disapproval of other women. It's nothing new, but it's still disappointing. All of this spawning from a period tracker. Not a concern for women's well-being, but instead because of some people who don't want to see periods destigmatized. Even around women, there's a discomfort around discussing periods. Sadly, it seems that a lot of men were triggered by this pretty boy game where the men were acting at a higher standard than they were willing to. It's sad, really. This could have been a learning opportunity for men to know what women are looking for in a relationship and how they'd like to be treated during their period. It wasn't the impossible beauty standards of these men, nor their insane wealth that insecure men felt threatened by. Instead, it was the fact that they might care deeply for their partner while they're on their period. That's the standard that they couldn't or didn't care to meet. Instead of seeing pixelated pretty boys as competition, they should see them as teachers. So let's talk a little bit more about the function of the period tracker because it's more than just a little reminder that pops up on your phone. In-game, there's an article that goes over details around period health, what to look for, and what could be a cause for concern. Like a little information booklet. Users can assign one or more guy to help them keep track of their period. Once assigned, you'll notice that there's little conversation options that allow you to discuss things that you'll need while on your period. And your love interest will respond with kind messages about how he can help you. They'll emphasize how important it is for you to have a good diet and to rest during this time, and how the user's period is natural and that there should be no shame around it. They'll offer little bits of medical advice as well. The doctor character, Zane, even mentions the stigmatization around periods and how it's ridiculous because it's completely natural. And as more women began to use this period tracker, they found comfort in it. Even a virtual, fictional man saying nice things and offering to do nice things to the female player while she's on her period is healing. Another reason I believe why this period tracker attracted so much hate is the space that it's in. This is a video game, and in the video game space, well, we know that misogyny runs rampant. A 2024 study conducted by the Entertainment Software Association found that 46% of gamers are female. That is impressive. And yet women continue to be overlooked within the gaming industry. It's refreshing to see a game with such high quality cater to a female audience. We are unfortunately still living in a world where the mere inclusion of a female protagonist can lead to woke allegations. So hopefully we all are on the same page that the period tracking aspect of Love in Deepspace does not make it a Gooner game. But could it still be considered a Gooner game for other qualities? Are there sexual components to Love in Deepspace? And the answer is yes. There is sex in Love in Deepspace, and along with it is intimacy, bonding, and sensuality. If you scroll around on YouTube or TikTok, you might see some streamers reacting to some of the more sensual scenes in Love in Deepspace and equating it to just being degenerate behavior. Reducing the game down to its sexual components while also ignoring the importance of sex in the storyline. There's a palpable discomfort around women's pleasure. This game operates more along the lines of the female gaze, which is new for a lot of people to experience. Audiences are more familiar and oftentimes more comfortable with seeing sex portrayed as an act that objectifies the female partner. But Love in Deepspace is different. There's a focus on intimacy through touch, through reactions in the body, specifically on the body of the male partner. Our female main character is also given agency that allows her to touch the men. She'll even oftentimes initiate these sexual acts. And we see the power that her touch has over the men, and how their bodies react to pleasure, which again is a bit alien. Usually we see women's bodies reacting to pleasure. They are the focal point, but now things have shifted. These elements set Love in Deepspace apart from its competitors. The sexual content actually started to grow over time, which should be a signal that it was successful in drawing in more users. Another thing that keeps Love in Deepspace from being just a Gooner game are the goals for the player. Sure, there are outfits that are more revealing that you can work up to, but they are not the main goal. It's interesting. What you're actually aiming for is a sense of love and understanding, companionship, and a better understanding of the characters themselves. The ever-growing story surrounds the mystery of the main character herself. So in a way, the player is trying to understand this self-insert character. So it's a journey of self-discovery. The sexual content is not the end goal. There's a leveling up system called the affinity system, and this allows your bond with the character to grow, and this comes from fighting alongside them, playing the claw machine together, taking photos together, answering their phone calls, texting them back. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people view romance as just a pathway to sex, and that's why what we see as romantic is being equated to Gooner material. For some reason, love is detached from the idea of sex. One hallmark of a Gooner game is how the camera treats the bodies of the, objectified persons. With Love in Deepspace, the men are actually respected by the camera, oftentimes shot in a way to show them as powerful. In a standard Gooner game, you're gonna see a lot of close-ups of cleavage and butts, even while the characters are just fighting or talking. And you're gonna notice a lot of stuff jiggling around. That isn't to say that Love and Deepspace doesn't have jiggle physics, it does, but we'll get to that. By not objectifying the men during these important parts throughout the story and even through combat, it shows the importance of what they're doing, how they're feeling, and what they're saying, instead of how they look in a sexual way. The fan-servicey aspect of Love and Deepspace is mostly just in small interactions that you can choose to do or not do. They're not baked into the presentation of the story nor the combat. So unlike a lot of Gooner games, you can actually avoid most of the fan service. And if you're looking for a wide library of different spicy outfits to see these beautiful men in, you're gonna be disappointed. Unlike other Gooner games or even a lot of gacha games, the guys only have about 3 or 4 different shirtless options, and that's about as crazy as it gets. Instead, there's all sorts of very reserved outfits that we're incentivized to work towards that just look nice. Just makes them look handsome. It's fun. There's playful little add-ons. I mean, there's headbands that girls are working really hard to get, or a wolf cut to get as a hair option. Sadly, as of recording this video, there is no Speedo option for the guys. Who knows, maybe in another update. The Nightly Rendezvous event elevated the physical intimacy that we saw between the player and the male leads. While before things were more suggestive and fade to black, during this event things became a lot more explicit. That being said, none of this content is really 18+. It's below a rated R movie. No nudity. But it was still shocking. And while these steamy moments existed during this special event, what was also paired with it was some beautiful storytelling. You essentially have to play through nearly 40 to 45 minutes of story to get to what is around a 3-minute cutscene with some quick time type of events of steamy sensuality. Character development and story progression will always take precedence. This is a romance, and the sexual component ties into the story. You see their fears and vulnerabilities, how much more comfortable they become around each other, and so on. Reducing Love and Deepspace to just being sex or like empty pornography would be like ignoring all of the story that you see in these high-budget TV shows that tend to have a lot of sex scenes, like Game of Thrones. Even before these Gooner allegations, people were starting to take notice of how well Love and Deepspace was doing, beating out some competitors according to some infographics that were swirling around. And then came people who wanted to claim that Love and Deepspace was popular only because it lacked competition. Some people chose to believe that the success was only because there were so many waifu games, but not a lot of husbando games. They ignored how high quality the game is and the attention to details that would allow players to feel more connected to the characters. Here's the thing. Love and Deepspace is popular because it's good. Enfold Games also made this game very accessible. Not only is it free to play and for mobile devices, but it's also available in multiple languages: English, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. There's high quality graphics, a fun battle system, and an intriguing sci-fi fantasy story. But what I find most interesting is that it taps into desires that women have that haven't been expressed in many games, even in otome games. The main character that we play as is not a pushover. She's intelligent. She takes risks. She doesn't want to feel coddled or weak. And we are able to self-insert into this character who is in relationships with men who are able to respect her autonomy and her strength. One of my favorite aspects of the battle system isn't the actual fighting, but instead the dialogue we hear from our male companions. They actively cheer you on. They tell you you're clever. They talk about what a great team you guys make. Our main character is not a damsel, but she's also not a rough and tough character with no personality. She allows the player to feel empowered and respected by men, which unfortunately is something that a lot of women don't experience often. Seeing men be supportive during battle, cheering you on, relying on you, and even outside of battle, seeing them be supportive when you're going through a hard time like your period. It's a desire that many women have. To be treated like an equal, but also cherished and protected. While some people were so disgusted by the fact that there was sexual content in this game at all, fans of the game were happy to see male leads that wanted their enthusiastic consent before moving forward with sexual activity. In a lot of ways, this game has been healing to its female players. The male characters allow our female MC to express her emotions. I find this especially to be true with the character Silas. Her rage, her anger, and greed are all without judgment. In fact, he will support her through her emotions, encouraging her to go boxing, or saying that maybe he'll help her take care of anyone who's given her trouble. But he also lets her know how competent she is, even intentionally spending time away from her so that she can focus on her studies and letting her know that she's going to ace whatever comes up next. There's the character Caleb, who allows MC to rest. He lets her know that he can take care of things while she recuperates her strength. He likes training with her, helping her get stronger. One of his conflicts throughout the story is him wrestling with this deep desire to protect her and keep her to himself, and also her need for freedom and for her own need to protect him. She wanted to stand side by side with him, face different trials together. And he eventually starts to warm up to that idea. He grows in order to allow her to be happy and have freedom. And he acknowledges her strength. He is a man who is happy to cook for his woman. He'll do household chores as well. He wants to celebrate her small victories and offers to take her out. Even if these men are busy, they still make time for the main character, letting her know that she takes precedent. I have heard stories from people in my comment sections letting me know that this game has helped them heal through breakups, through postpartum depression, from abusive relationships. And while some people are afraid that this game might steer women away from dating real men, sometimes it has the opposite effect. I've heard from women who feel like they are more interested in dating because of this game, that it gave them hope that maybe there are some good men out there. Some women have raised their standards because they realized that they deserved better care than what they were given in past relationships. But it's not just the male leads that have helped inspire growth and change in the player, but also the main character, our self-insert. Her physical strength has inspired some people to take up exercise regimens inspired by her profession as a hunter. Her confidence helps inspire confidence in the player. She's also comfortable with letting her desires be known. She'll gently caress the men, and in return, we see them respond to her touches, caressing their faces, their eyelashes, letting them know how much she cherishes them and how attracted she is to them. I was so surprised to see how bold she was. I did not expect that from a female self-insert character in an otome game, but it was refreshing. And her ability to treat the men kindly and gently. I've heard from people who have said that they feel more comfortable communicating their desires with their male partners thanks to this game, and even more comfortable showing affection to them. The undeniable success of Love in Deepspace should perk up the ears of the gaming industry. It should encourage them to cater to the already sizable female gaming population. There are players spending hundreds of dollars a month on this free-to-play mobile game. And it's because the game is giving them what they want. It's been connecting to them on an emotional level. And of course, it's been engaging and fun to play. And to cater to women, you also have to hire women in positions of power within the gaming industry. One thing that sets Infold Games apart from other game developers is that they actively talk about the fact that they have a high number of female staff members. This was noted by the producer in a March 2025 article by 4Gamer when asked about the period tracking feature. It is hard to imagine a male-dominated staff adding in something like this. In the article, the producer goes on to talk about how this feature is supposed to help women emotionally. So, by listening to women's desires and actually hiring women, Infold Games is reaping massive rewards. In a 2024 State of the Game Industry report from the GDC, they found that men still make up over 2/3 of game developers, and only 23% of developers surveyed were women. And when it comes to gaming professionals with more experience in the industry, the decision makers, according to the report, men make up the majority at 87% of game developers. With 21 years or more of experience, white men were the biggest demographic at 92%. So what we have is a big gap between a sizable market and the developers behind the product, which to me signals that there is a lot of potential here. But it's not as simple as getting more women into the gaming industry. It's also about treating those women with respect once they are in the industry. A 2015 gender balance workforce survey reported by The Guardian amongst women working in the UK gaming industry, 45% felt that their gender was a limiting factor in their career progression. Will the success of Love and Deepspace transform the gaming industry as we know it? In any case, we'll see companies like Infold capitalize off of this underserved market. After seeing the positive responses to this game, I for one would be so happy to see the gaming industry and for the gaming culture to shift in a way that would allow women to feel safe, empowered, and catered towards. The discomfort and vitriol we saw thrown towards female players of Love and Deepspace is a sneak peek into the backlash that will come when more games decide to cater towards women's needs and desires. But even so, I believe a future that embraces female gamers and female developers is on the horizon. If you made it to the end, I would love it if you could hit the follow button, especially if you'd like to hear me talk more about Love and Deepspace and the community around it. Thank you, and I hope to see you in the next video.